morning, students. Today, the topic which we are going to discuss is nature of information gathered, qualitative and quantitative. Learning objectives of today's topic are quantitative data. You will be able to understand the concept of quantitative data, model for conceptually quantitative research, creating the foundation for quantitative research, types of quantitative research, qualitative research. What do you mean by qualitative research? Qualitative, quantitative differences. What is the difference between the qualitative and quantitative researches? Nature of quantitative data. Now, quantitative data. Quantity is the unit of analysis, where the unit of analysis is quantity. Amount, how much amount is here? Frequency, what is the frequency? Degree, values, and intensity. Use statistics for greater precision and objectivity, and we use statistics to know the greater precision and objectivity for the data based on the deductive model. Model for conceptually quantitative research. Overall purpose or objective. What is the overall purpose or objective of conducting that research? Research literature. Research questions and hypotheses. What are the different research questions and hypotheses that are framed? Selecting appropriate method. Which method should be adopted for that particular purpose? Validity and reliability of the data. What is the reliability and validity of that particular data? Creating the foundation for quantitative research, concept abstract thinking to distinguish it from other animals means when we are talking about the concept abstract thinking to distinguish that uh, thinking will be there to distinguish it from the other animals. Elements construct theoretical definition of a concept. What is the theoretical definition of that particular concept? Must be observable. That can be observable, measurable. That can be measured, linked to other concept, and that can be easily linked to other concepts. Variable presented in research questions and hypothesis. Variables that has been presented in research questions and hypotheses that are being framed. Operationalization, specifically how the variable is observed or measured. What is the means of measuring or observing that particular variables? Types of quantitative research. The first one is exploratory. It is good starting point to get familiarized with some insights and ideas. It is a good starting point to know or to get familiarized to know with some insights and ideas that are being there. Example, identify the dependent and independent variable. Now when you are going to do your research and the exploratory thing will be that for your research you will able to identify to find out that these are the dependent variables of my research and these are the independent variables for my research and how these independent variables are affecting my research or the dependent variables. The second one is descriptive, the mapping out of circumstances, situation, or set of events. Here we are mapping out the circumstances which lead to that particular thing, situation that they are creating, or set of events that are being there. Casual experimenting means you will have to experiment, statistically speaking, to assess cause and effect relationship. When we do or conduct an experiment, we have to assess what is the cause of that which lead to that and what are the effects of that. For example, whether or not a radio program is achieving its objective or not means we are finding out the causal relationship whether that radio program is achieving its objectives or not. What are the causes why it is achieving its good objective and what is the effect of achieving that objective. Experiments in the social science take place naturally. All the experiments that has been conducted in the social sciences take place naturally. That examples the effectiveness of SES on the academic achievements. Now, statistics are of descriptive, correlation, and inflation. Now, first one is descriptive, organizing, summarizing, and describing data. When we are doing statistics of descriptive research, then we have to organize that. The data should be organized in a proper order. Summarize, we have to make a summarization of that, and describing the data that has been used. Correlation, we have to find out the relationship between the two variables. Inferential means through that inferential statistics we can make generalization of the results or the data and its significance in that. Measuring variables. To establish relationship between variables. When we are trying to establish the relationship between a dependent and the independent variable, researcher must observe the variables. The- When the researcher is establishing the relationship, then the researcher must observe the variables, what are the independent variables and what are the dependent variables, and record their observations. And they have to record their observation. This required that the variables being measured, and this is what it required when we are trying to establish the relationship. It required that these variables should be measured. The process of measuring a variable requires a set of categories. The process of measuring a variable requires a set of categories called a scale of measurement. It can be an ordinal scale, it can be a nominal scale, ratio, or the interval scale. And a process that classifies each individual into one category. And a process through which we are classifying each individual into a one particular category. Qualitative research, a form of social inquiry, a way of social inquiry that focuses, that gives importance on the way people interpret it, on the way how the people are interpreting those data and make sense of their experiences. And on the basis of that interpretation, they are making sense of the experiences and the world in which we live and the world in which we are living. Qualitative research, qualitative data analysis is the era of process, the way of processing, and procedures and different procedures that we are applying, whereby a researcher provide explanation when the researcher is doing a qualitative research, that research provides different explanation, the depth in define that understanding and understanding comprehensions and interpretation of the phenomena under study on the basis of meaningful and symbolic content of qualitative data. It provides ways of discriminating how the two variables are different from each other, examining the variables, comparing, making a comparison between the two, and contrasting and interpreting meaningful patterns and themes. And on the basis of that, a meaningful pattern and theme will be constructed. It is based on the interpretative philosophy. It is based on the interpretative philosophy that the qualitative research. Qualitative data are subjective, they are not objective. Soft, rich, and in depth descriptions usually presented in the forms of words. The most common forms of obtaining qualitative data include semi-structured and unstructured interview. Semi-structured interview where the sequence and the number of questions all are fixed. Unstructured where we can add some questions, we can delete some questions according to the situations or the conditions. Observations, life histories, and document. The process of analyzing is difficult, rigorous. The nature of qualitative research. The term qualitative research refers to studies that investigates the quality of relationship, activities, or situation. Now, when we are talking about the qualitative research, the qualitative research is referring to studies, how we study. that investigate the relationship between the variables, the quality of relationship between the variables, activities that has been conducted, or the situations of that researchers. Qualitative data are collected in the forms of words or pictures. When we are talking about the qualitative data, we are collecting that data on the basis of or in the form of the words or pictures and seldom involve numbers, and seldomly we involve the numbers also when we are doing the qualitative research. What is qualitative data analysis? Qualitative data analysis QAD is the range of the process and procedures and the different procedures that we have applied, whereby we move from the qualitative data in that procedure we have to move from the qualitative data that has been presented that have been collected into some form of explanation. That data has been collected to give explanation, understanding, comprehension or interpretation of the people and situations we are investigating. Means in that particular researches or where we using the qualitative data, we have been collecting in some form of explanation. We explain the variables that what type of relationship they exist. Understanding means understand the variable, how much they are affecting each other, or interpretation, or on the basis of the relationship between the variables we interpret it, or interpretation of the people uh, and situations. It can be the interpretations of the people, how they are behave in that particular situations, and we are interpreting, explaining, and trying to understand those situations also that we are investigating or on which we are doing the researches. Qualitative and quantitative difference. Now, what is the difference between the qualitative and the quantitative data? Now, we will discuss. Now, the first one is the aim is a detailed description. When we are focusing, when our research is of qualitative in nature, then that type of research is a detailed description. It is focusing on giving importance to the detailed description. Researcher may only know roughly in advance what he is she looking for. When a researcher is doing a qualitative research in advance, means priorly, he comes to know that these are the things what he wants to search. May only know roughly in advance what he is she looking for, what he is looking for, searching for. The design emerges as the study unfolds. The design of the research emerges as the study unfolds as the study continues. Researcher is the data gathering instrument. Now, researcher is the data gathering instrument means the researcher will collect the information or the data regarding that research. Data is in the form of words, pictures, or objects, or the data can be in the form of words, pictures, or objects. Subjective, individual interpretation of events is important. The qualitative research is subjective, it's not an objective research because the how the individual is interpreting a particular event or its situation or a condition depends on his thought process. Qualitative research is more rich, time consuming, and not generalizable. Now that is what time consuming, that it needs a lot of time from the researcher if a researcher is doing his research on the qualitative basis first thing, and not generalization means the results that we got from the researches by doing the qualitative research, it cannot be generalized to the whole population. The research results can be limited or to the sample only from which the researcher has collected that sample. Researchers tend to become subjectively impressed in the subject matter. Now, the quantitative research, the aim is to clarify features, count them, and construct statistically. models in an attempt to explain what is observed. Now, they are giving importance to what they have observed, what they are observing. Researcher know clearly in advance what he or she is looking for. In a quantitative research, the researcher also have an idea that these are the things or for these are the variables that he is going to search or for he is looking for. All aspects of the study are carefully designed. All the aspects of the studies are carefully designed before data is collected, before the researcher has decided that he will collect the data. Researcher questionnaire or equipments to collect numerical data. Now the researcher uses the questionnaire to collect the data. Equipments, it can be other instruments, it can be through the different scales that the researcher can collect the data, and it can be on the numerical data only. Data is numerical in nature, means when we are doing the quantitative research, we will get some data in the numerical form. Objective seeks measurement and analysis of target concepts. It's an objective in its approach. Quantitative data is more efficient. It's a more efficient data in comparison to the qualitative data. Able to test hypothesis means when we are constructing a hypothesis, we can measure the hypothesis whether the hypothesis has been accepted or rejected on the basis of the quantitative data, as the quantitative data gives us some numerical data. Researchers tend to remain separated from the subject matter, and the researcher, when he is doing a quantitative research, tends to remain separated from the subject matter. Now, the qualitative and the quantitative approaches. Qualitative, non-probability based sample. When we are doing a qualitative research, is a non-probability based sample. Non-generalizable means the results cannot be generalized. Answer why and how. Uh, the qualitative research answers two type of questions, that why it is happening and how it's happening. Formative earlier phases means it focuses on the formative assessment and earlier phases. Data are rich and time consuming to analyze, means when we are doing the analysis or the interpretation of the data that has been collected through the qualitative, it is a very time consuming job to analyze that particular data. Design may emerge as the study unfolds. The design changes as the or the design emerges as the study unfolds, as the study continues. Researcher IS the instrument. When we are talking about the quantitative, typically a probability based sample means the selection of the sample from the population is totally on the probability based. Generalizable means the results that has been obtained from the quantitative research can be generalized to the whole population. It answers how many, when, and where. The quantitative researches answers how many, when, and where. Test hypothesis means testing of the hypothesis can be done when the researcher is using a quantitative data. Later phases, data are more efficient. The data that has been collected through the quantitative research are efficient, but may miss conceptual details. Design decide in advance. When a researcher has decided that he will do his research on quantitative base, means the whole the design for which he is going, whether is decided in prior only. Various tools, instruments applied means various tools can be used for collecting the data. It can be a questionnaire, it can be a rating scale, it can be a observation schedule. Means for quantitative data, we can apply various tools and instruments for the collection of the data. Now, main types of qualitative research. First one is case study. Now, in a case study, when we have to collect data or information in depth about a particular phenomena or an individual. Case study. attempts to shed light on a phenomena by studying in depth a simple case example of the phenomena means in-depth study about a particular information about a particular criteria. The cases can be an individual person, the case may be of an individual, an event that has been organized, a group or an institution means case study can be done of a group, an institution, an event or an individual. Grounded theory. Theory is developed inductively from a corpus of data acquired by a participant observer. That data has been achieved or acquired by the participant observer only. Phenomenology describes the structure of experiences. What are the different structures of the experiences as they present themselves to consciousness without recourse to theory, deduction, or assumptions from other disciplines. Anthropology focuses on the sociology of meaning, means anthropography is focuses or giving importance on the sociology of meaning of sociology through field observation means meaning through the close field observations that we have conducted or social cultural phenomena related to the social cultural phenomena that has been there. Typically, the ethnographer focuses on a community and the ethnographer focuses his research on a particular community only. Historical systematic collection means that data will be collected in a systematic order. And objective evaluation of data, and the evaluation of data is not subjective, it is on the objective basis related to past occurrences in order to test hypothesis. What has been occurred in the past in order to test hypothesis, the way in which that hypothesis has been tested, whether it is a null hypothesis, whether it has been accepted or rejected. Considering causes, effects, what are the causes of rejecting or what are the causes of accepting that hypothesis, and what are the effects or trends of these events that may help to explain present events and anticipate future events that may help to explain the present events that are going, and on the basis of that we can anticipate the future events. There are three main methods of data collection. Uh, First one is interactive interview, where we go to a person, uh, try to take his viewpoints and experiences on a particular phenomena or a situation. Interactive interview, people asked to verbally describe their experiences of a phenomena. Means we go to a person, ask him for some verbal questions, and through those questions we try to get uh, the information related to the experiences of that particular individual related to that particular phenomenon. Writing descriptions by participants, people asked to write descriptions of their experiences of phenomena. Here we are asking the people to write descriptions of their experiences of the related to that phenomena. Observation, descriptive observation of verbal and non-verbal behavior. Now here we are making an observation of verbal and non-verbal behavior of the different participants or the individuals. Analysis begins when the data is first collected, means the analysis process will start when the data is first collected. Means for the analysis process, first we have to collect the data and is used to guide decisions related to further data collection, and is used to guide decisions. What type of decisions has to be taken related to further data collection, and that data analysis will be useful in giving us the information related to further data collection, how the further data collection has to be done in communicating or generating the data. The researcher must make the process of the study accessible that anyone can access the process of collecting or generating the data, and write descriptively and write in detail So, tactic knowledge may best be communicated through the use of rich, thick description, and this definition was given by Mayers in 2002. Now, qualitative data analysis. The following are the components of qualitative data analysis. First one is data reduction. Data reduction refers to the process of selecting, means we have to select the process, focusing the main area on which the data has been focused, simplified the data, abstracting, taking out the main thing from the data, and transforming the data that appears in written up fields, notes, or transactions. The data collected should be reduced in terms of meaningful term, means you have collected a lot of data for your researches. But first of all, what you have to do, you have to reduce that data in terms of meaningful term, that things that are being useful to you. All the information collected should not be presented, means all the data that has been collected by you should not be presented, might be because some data might not be of use. Now, the second one is qualitative data analysis is data display. How you are displaying your data. Data display provide an organized, in a proper order, compressed assembly of information, the way in which information has been presented, that permits conclusion drawing and that permits in which the data has to be concluded on what inferences should be drawn from it. A display can be an extended piece of text or a diagram, chart, or matrix that provide a new way of arranging the data and thinking about the more textually embodied data. Data display can be extremely helpful in identifying whether a system is working effectively and how to change it. Means the data display will help you to determine or to find out whether data help be extremely helpful in identifying whether the system is working in a proper or an effective manner or not, and if not, then how to change it. Data could be displayed using a series of flowchart, means you can use a number of flowcharts to display your data that map out any critical part, decision points, and supporting evidence that emerge from establishing the data from each site. The researcher may use the data from subsequent sites to modify the original flowchart of the first site, prepare an independent flowchart for each site, and prepare a single flowchart for some events if some sites adopted a generic approach and multiple flowcharts for other. Now it's upon the researcher how he wants to show or display its data. Now, the third one is conclusion, drawing, and verification. You have collected the data. Now, you have to draw some conclusion, some inferences on the basis of the data that you have collected, and on the basis of that, you will make some verification on the basis of the whether the hypothesis has been accepted or rejected. Conclusion drawings require a researcher to begin to decide what things mean. He does this by noting regularity, pattern, differences, similarities, explanation, possible configurations, schedule flows, and propositions. This process involves stepping back to consider what the analyzed data means you have to explain that this is the meaning of that and data that has been analyzed and to assess their implications, and these are the implications of the data for the questions at hand. Verification means you have to verify the data. Integrally linked to conclusion drawings means on the basis of that data you will draw some conclusions unless revisiting the data as many times as necessary to cross-check or verify those emergent conclusions. Miles and Huberman assist that the meaning emerging from the data have to be tested for their possibility, their suitableness, their conformability, that is their validity. Means we have to check whether the data that has been collected has been valid or not. Strategies of qualitative data analysis and analytic induction. Analytic induction is a way of building explanations in qualitative analysis by constructing and testing a set of causal links between events, actions, etc. It's a research logic used to collect, develop, analysis, and organize the presentations of research finding, how the research finding has been presented. It refers to a systematic and a proper error an exhaustive examination of a limited number of cases in order to provide generalization means in order to that we can able to generalize the information, identify similarities, what are the different similarities between these two variables or situations between various social phenomena in order to develop contract or ideas. Its formal objective is causal explanation. Second one is constant comparison. It's include approaching your data with an open mind to identify noteworthy patterns. This requires that every time you select a passage of text or its equivalent in video, etc., and quote it, you should compare it with all those passages you have already quoted. That way, perhaps in other cases. Newly gathered data are continued compared with previously collected data means a comparison will be there, a constant comparison will be there between the data that has been collected by you in present and the data that has been collected by you by others previously and their coding in order to refine the development of theoretical categories. The purpose is to test emerging ideas that might take the research in new and fruitful direction. Now, strategies of qualitative data analysis these includes word repetitions. Look for commonly used words and words whose close repetitions may indicate emotions. Indigenous categories it refers to terms used by respondent with a particular meaning and significance in their setting. Keywords in context look for a range of use of key terms in a phrase and sentences in which they occur. Compare and contrast. It is essential the grounded theory idea of constant comparison. Ask what is this about and how does it differ from the preceding or following statements. Social science queries introduce social science explanations and theories. For example, to explain conditions, you are explaining the particular conditions, actions, interactions, and consequences of a phenomenon. Searching for missing information, it is essential to try to get an idea of what is not being done or talked out, but which you would have expected to find metaphors and analogies. People often use metaphors to indicate something, means metaphors are used to indicate the similarities between two phenomena, two situations, about their key central belief about things, and these may indicate the way they feel about things too. Transactions. One of the descriptive element in speech which include turn-taking in conversation as well as more poetic and narrative use of story structures. Connectors. It refers to connections between terms such as casual, since, because, as, of, etc. as logical implies means is one of each, etc. Strategies of qualitative data analysis containing unmarked text examine the text that has not been coded at a theme or even not at all. Pubbing that is handling it refers to marketing the text and eyeballing or scanning the text. Circle, word, underline, use color highlighters, run colored lines down the margins to indicate different meaning and coding, then look for patterns and significance. Cutting and sorting it refers to the traditional technique of cutting up transcripts and collecting all those coded the same way into piles, envelopes, or folders, or pasting them onto cards. Laying out all these scraps and rereading them together is an essential part of the process of analysis. Strategies of qualitative data analysis. Triangulation according to Berg and Berg. Triangulation is a term originally associated with survey activities, map making, navigation, and military practices. The word triangulation was first used in social science as metaphor describing a form of multiple operalization or convergent validation. Campbell and Fiske were the first to apply the navigational term triangulation to research. They used the term triangulations to describe multiple data collection strategies for measuring a single concept. Means multiple data collection techniques. It can be an interview. It can be a questionnaire. It can be an observation schedule. Means multiple data collection techniques for using for measuring a single concept. This is known as data triangulation, and using the multiple data collection technique for measuring a single concept is known as data triangulation. According to them, a triangulation is a powerful way of demonstrating concurrent validity, particularly in qualitative research. Triangulation is an approach to research that uses a combination of more than one research study in a single investigation. Now, selecting assessment activities. Instructional activities, nature of language, ability to communicate meaning, easy activities, frustration, challenge on proficiency level, level, purpose, uses of the language, statics, describe a picture, giving direction, dynamic, telling a story, role plays, abstract, giving an opinion, format, individual, peer group, emerging students in an authentic oral activities assessment. Now, criteria adapted from research 1983, content validity, measuring listening comprehension or skill, task validity, assessing listening comprehension or speaking, purposeful transferability, authentic real life purpose, authenticity, major spoken languages, oral interview, individual peers, classroom settings, provoke language functions describing giving information opinion. Underhill's suggestions performance tasks to check an oral interview. Can the learner use cutsy formulas? Ask simple informations. Describe a series of past events or produce a smooth stream of speech or not. Picture, cute description or stories. Age, interest, appropriate color or black and white. Communicate tests, pictures with tell stories, organization, variety of pictures. Radio broadcast, authentic context, whether the context is authentic or not. Useful for individual, group or for whole group. Listening for specific information when you are searching for the particular information. Description, direction and summarization. Songs and authentic language. Now video clips that is related to motivation. Minimal preparation is required. No level is there. Sometimes authentic language. Story, text, retelling, simultaneously assessment skills, speaking and listening, appropriately individual is there, describing, giving information and summarizing, adapting story of students, improvisation, role play, simulations, authentic activities, interactive content, real life conversations, repetitions, interpretations, reduce anxiety, increase motivation, and enhance language acquisition, improvisation, generating languages, role play, it's more instructional, simulation, being involved in different roles. Oral reports, real life listening comprehensions, public speaking skills, asking questions, require preparations, all levels of proficiency. debates, type of role play to defend position, intermediate and advanced, extensive preparations for learner, language functions, describing, explaining, giving and asking for information, pursuing, agreeing and disagreeing, ideas about debate. Today we have discussed about the qualitative and the quantitative research, difference between the qualitative and the quantitative research. For further reading on this topic, you can refer these references. Now let us discuss some MCQs based on the topic which we have discussed today. The first one is a good starting point to get familiarized with some insights and ideas. Now what is that? Now the options are exploratory, B explanation, C predictive, or it's D measurement. So students, you have to select the correct answer, and the correct answer is option A, that is explanatory. Second one is dash is a term originally associated with serving activities. That means it is used for survey, map making, navigation, and military practices. And the options are triangulations, triangulations, irregulations, and transulations. Now, the correct answer is option A, that is triangulation. Third one, analytic induction is a way of building explanations in dash analysis by constructing. Now the options are A qualitative, B quantitative, C fixed, or it's D demographic. So the correct answer is option A, that is qualitative. Now the fourth one, dash data analysis is the era of process and procedures whereby researcher provides explanations, understanding and interpretations of the phenomena. The options are A qualitative, B quantitative, C fixed, or it's D demographic. So the correct answer is option A, that is qualitative. Now, the fifth one, dash refers to the traditional technique of cutting up transcripts and collecting all those coded the same way into piles. And the options are A. Cutting and sorting, B. Data display, C. Triangulation, or it's D. Descriptive. And the correct answer is option A, that is cutting and sorting. Now, the sixth one, the term dash refers to studies that investigate the quality of relationships, activities, or situations. Now, the options are A. Qualitative research, B. Quantitative research, C. Periodic research, or it's D. Explanatory research. So, the correct answer is option A, that is qualitative research. Now the seventh one, dash comparisons including approaching your data with an open-minded to identify noteworthy patterns. And the options are A. Constant, B. Define, C. Explain, or it's D. Fixed. Now these are the options, students, and you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the choices. And the correct answer is yes. The correct answer is option A. That is constant comparison includes approaching your data with an open-minded. Now the eighth one, dash theory is developed inductively from a corpus of data acquired by a participant observer. Now the options are A ground, B fixed, C flow, or D explanation. So which theory is developed inductively? And the correct answer is option A, that is ground theory is developed inductively. Now the ninth one, dash refers to marketing the text and eyeballing or scanning the text. The options are A. Pawing, B. Cutting and sorting, C. Triangulation, or it's D. Constant. And the correct answer is option A, that is pawing. Now the last one, the tenth one, dash data are collected in the form of words and seldom involves number. Now, which type of data is that which uh, is collected in the form of words and seldomly it's involved numbers? Options are A qualitative, B quantitative, C periodic, or it's the explanation. Which type of data is that? Now these are the options and you have to select the correct one, and the correct one is option A, that is a qualitative data is collected in the form of words and seldom it's involved number. Now, thank you, students. With today's narration, you able to understand what is the concept of a qualitative research. What is the concept of an quantitative research? Qualitative data analysis and the procedures that are involved in qualitative data analysis. What is the difference between qualitative and a quantitative data analysis, or the quantitative or the qualitative researches? Then we have explained about the different techniques for the data collections that can be used for the quantitative research. Now, in the next class, we will discuss further about the projects or the work assignments that can be given to the students for assessing their learning. Thank you, students. Thank you for your patience listening.